This is what I've been saying, right? You know, if I was in this situation with all these characters, right? If this was a real life scenario, I would be the cynic, right? I would be the cynic in the corner who's constantly reminding everybody, hey, these are fucking shadows. Stop thinking of them as people. Stop. Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome back to some more Summertime Render, episode 16. Previously on Summertime Render, we won a battle. Finally, the good guys won one battle. But we have not yet won the war. The episode left us off with everyone surviving and having won the battle just barely, with a pretty decent plan. But they left off having captured Shadow Mio. The original Mio is like, hey, release Shadow Mio from Haine's control. Now, I kind of talked a little about this last episode and what I thought about this, but basically, I really don't like this. If they're already capturing Shadow Mio instead of just killing her, that means that, like, there's no shot that they're just letting her go, even if they, you know, separate the connection between Haine and Shadow Mio. Even if they sever that connection, there's no way they're just letting her go, right? Even if she doesn't want to join them or switch sides, as it were, there's no way they're just letting her go, right? Right? That would be incredibly fucking stupid. And so why else would they just not kill her in the first place? Which is why I'm assuming that what's gonna happen is they sever the connection, the control connection between Haine and Shadow Mio, and then she'll join them somehow. Or maybe the original Mio is gonna convince Shadow Mio to join their side. Regardless, let's just get into episode 16 of Summertime Render and see what happens.
お通夜でお母さんがミオをスキャンしてその夜更けに洞窟の中で私が生まれた。
お母さんっていうのはしおりちゃんの姿をしたハイネのことやな。
うん。
ミオの自転車のブレーキを壊した。
うん。
See, this is interesting because as the shadow was born, right, she remembers everything. Remembers where she came from, when she was born, you know, how, where, when, which means that trying to apply the same way of being born to Ushio Shadow doesn't seem to make sense, because there must the shadow, because usually we see some sort of weird shadowy creature come first and then they take the form of whatever they scanned or whatever. Or rather, an existing shadow can scan and then create some sort of blob form thing and then apply that information onto that new shadow or something. That's how we saw Shadow Mio create that police officer shadow version, right? Which means that if we were to apply the same logic to how Ushio Shadow was created, there must have been a shadow that scanned Ushio and then created a shadow of her at some point, somewhere.
怪我でもして病院に行ってくれたらやりやすいと思った。病院の中でミオを殺してすり替わりやすいってことか？そうよ。菱形先生は影の味方やから。
それはハイネの命令？
違う。私がそうしたかっただけ。でも失敗。安心してと聞こう。今となってはなんで殺したかったんかようわからん。
ハイネは牛尾さんの影を探すためにあんたを産んだんやな。
裏切り者やからな。私は人のコピーができやん。あんたはできるんか？コピーには2種類あって、自分の体に移す変身と体を分裂させて新しい影を生む分娩。私ら子供は人の影を1回きりだけ分娩できる。
子供は
Yeah, that was what she did with the police officer.
でも体が弱っててハイネでも簡単じゃない。子供から生まれる孫の代には分娩能力がない。変身は影なら何回でもできる。ただし分娩でも変身でも人をコピーするなら1週間以内にオリジナルを消さんと体が泥になって消える。私もあと6日間の命。でも今はだからって感じ。そんなところかな。ごめんよしんちゃん、あんまり役に立つ情報なくて。
いや、そんなお前が謝ることちゃうて。おいおい、あいつは鍵やぞ、そうくん。いや、でも。
Oh my god, Jesus Christ. This is what I've been saying, right? You know, if I was in this situation with all these characters, right? If this was a real life scenario, I would be the guy, I would be the cynic, right? I would be the cynic in the corner who's constantly reminding everybody, hey, these are fucking shadows. Stop assuming, stop thinking of them as people. Stop, right? Everyone's kind of getting close to these shadows, you know, treating them as the originals and stuff. And it's like I would be in the corner constantly reminding everybody, hey, that's a fucking shadow. That's not the real person, bro. Stop it. Like, I'm, for instance, right, I'm a big supporter of, you know, AI technology or whatever, right? I think AI can't come fast enough, okay? But there's plenty of people who say that AI can never replace the human connection. Now, I don't believe that. I do believe that it can. But in that same way, a lot of people, for instance, have this idea that when you are, for instance, let me give you an example here. You, a human, are in a room, right? And if there is another human in the room, then you are not alone. You are not alone, essentially. However, if you're in this room, what's in the room is not a human, but rather an AI inside of a robot, then you would be alone. Because to a lot of people, AI inside robots, they're inanimate objects. These are not people. These are not living creatures. Thus, you are still alone, just like you would be alone if you are in this room and there is a TV in the room with you. You would still be alone, right? You would consider yourself to be alone. However, if, for instance, there is a walking, talking AI in the room with you, you might not consider yourself alone. Or at least a lot of people don't, but a lot of people also do. So we're still kind of in that half and a half area when it comes to AI and stuff. But in that same way where people consider AI AI inside robots to be still like inanimate objects, in that same way I still view shadows to just not be humans. Like they are not, maybe they can be trusted, I suppose. At least one of them can, Ushir Shadow, but you should not view them as the same as the original. Just no, just remind yourself that no, these are still just shadows.
分娩はそのための兵隊作りだな。私とお父さんはお母さんのためにハイネを復活させようとしてました。
Which is already a shadow, by the way.
でも違った。あいつらには別の目的がある。
岸形先生ならハイネの本当の目的を知ってるはずや。親父とは今晩10時に会う約束をしてる。
I still suspect that there's some sort of overarching time travel thing going on. Huh? They seriously just let him go? I assumed when she was sitting on that chair, she was tied down by her shadow in the ground. I don't agree. This is one of those things like, remember what I said last episode, where even if they disconnected or severed rather the connection of Heine being able to directly control and order them around, the shadows are still shadows. They are still following the mother out of their I don't know. From what I've gathered, it's not like they're like following what Heine wants them to do just because they're being forced to. You know they are shadows, thus they follow the Mother of Shadows. Or at least, I don't know. At this point, we're getting to a point in the show where I can't really analyze things too deeply anymore because it's clear that it's, the logic is kind of falling apart. They're not thinking everything through perfectly, right? So it's kind of like, at this point, just follow along. Don't really think about it too hard, right? We're getting to that point. And unfortunately, like, the reason I analyze and the reason I think about a lot of things in shows like these is because it's time travel, right? For instance, if this was Link Click, I would analyze, I would not find any issues, probably. Most likely. Like 100%. The thing that I kind of analyzed last episode about Shadow Mio potentially still being an enemy, even if you sever the connection to Heine, like, that completely makes sense. Like, there's no way to know that. There's no way to know if Shadow Mio would still be hostile or not, even after severing the connection. So they just let her go. I mean, if we go by that logic, why not just capture every shadow and sever all their connections? Why are we just massacring all the other shadows? But oh wait, never mind, I remember. It's because Mio is one of the main characters in the show, right? Everyone else is just a background NPC. It comes back around to that thing I talked about where everyone else is just basically just a background NPC that doesn't matter. The only people who matter are Shinpei and friends, and characters that have more screen time, right?
私のこと怖い？めっちゃ距離取るやん。
そりゃ怖ない言うたら嘘になるわ。お前に何回殺された思てんねん。
それって別の世界の話やろ。私まだ誰も殺してへんよ。私からも質問していい？
あ、うん。
東京で彼女できた？
So, also, before we move on from this, she said something along the lines of she had a sense to kill the original, like on her own. She literally said that it had nothing to do with Heine. The point I'm trying to make here is, if Shadow Mio was never, like, against the original Shinpei and the original Mio and all the other originals, then why the fuck was she so obviously going after them, even without Heine saying anything or whatever? I have to think about these things, right? Because things have to make sense, at least to me, right? So when I think about these things, something doesn't add up. Something that wasn't shown in the story, right? Something that wasn't shown to me in the show itself. For instance, maybe there could be a thing where the connection to Heine automatically made them want to follow Heine as well. It's not just that Heine can control them via like telepathy or something, but also that as long as there was like a connection to Heine, they kind of naturally followed what Heine wanted. You know? But that's not what they said in the show to me. That's not what they told me in the show. So I just kind of have to presume this, and just assume this, for things to make sense. Another... I have to stop pausing and just watch the show, but like, another thing that I really want to quickly mention, why the fuck is Shadow Mio not acting like regular Mio? Like the original? Because they copy the personality as well. Ushio Shadow acts like Ushio. Every other shadow acts like the thing that they've copied. Why the fuck is Shadow Mio not acting like Mio? I don't know. Just who cares, right? Like, let's just not ask questions. Just consume product. Don't ask questions. When you're setting up a rule in the show, you have to follow the rules. You can't just change things randomly. Why? We're not doing this, by the way. You can forget it. Now that I think about it, actually, yeah, why doesn't Shadow Mio act like Mio does? Another question that just is never going to be answered.
どういうことや。家中のもんがなくなってる。
お兄ちゃんと私の部屋も空でした。机もクローゼットもベッドも何もかも。
だがどうも手当たり次第に消した感じだ。隠滅すべき何かが隠されていることは知っているのに、場所がわからない。そんな印象だな。
親父のせいに決まってる。ここにおらんのがええ証拠やろ。お母さんもおらん。どうなってんのや、クソ。
I actually
こっちから影の気配がしたんやな、後ろ。
I actually think that you know, the father, like, for instance, right, I don't think any normal human would ever go along with this unless there was like a very good reason. And by a very good reason, like I said earlier, I think there's some sort of overarching time travel thing going on. Like maybe Shinpei at the very end will go back in time, like a massive amount of time, like way before the show started, right? And then maybe talk to the father, say, hey, this needs to happen this way, so work with the shadows until the time is right. Or something along those lines, right? Then everything makes sense, because there's got to be a good reason why the father would go along with this, knowing that you know, Heine plans to devour the entire island.
動かん。この音は。
弾痕か。争った形跡があるな。
気ぃつけて。影はこの下にいてる。
地下には何が。
霊安室です。
霊安室
It's the mother, yep.
なんでこんなとこに。
Well, obviously the shadow is faking.
顔見たか。
いや。
Another question I would ask is why hasn't any other shadow copied objects before
なんもないぞ。
and then became objects for the sake of like stealth?
うちの地下にこんなところが。
なくなってる。
ここに牛尾の遺体が。
やり直す？
いや、続行や。宋の両親を見つけやなあかん。
わかった。
トキちゃん、この通路って。
昼子堂へつながる参道です。
僕も少し影の気配を感じます。さっきの影はここから奥へ入ったんでしょう。
近いよみんな。もうすぐそこにいてるよ。
Someone's getting choked. Mother choking father? Oh my god, it is. Or rather, mother shadow choking father.
お母さん。一体どうなってる。うつら。歌んといてくれ。でも親父さんが。
Obviously, you shoot as a shadow. Just kill him.
後ろ。
大丈夫よ、そう。私が戻しちゃる。
I don't agree. Like, I think this is stupid. This is straight up fucking dumb, in my opinion. Sorry. I don't agree with the fact that severing the connection from Heine just makes them like good all of a sudden. I don't agree. It would make sense maybe if they were somehow special like Ushio's shadow, right? Like where they don't remember their time as a shadow. They don't remember when or where they came from. They just kind of they themselves believe that they are the original, even when the original is right in front of them, like Ushio Shadow and Ushio, right? When they were working together, they straight up the shadow itself thought that she was the original, because she had apparently no memory of being born as a shadow. But as Shadow Mio just earlier said, she'll fully remember. She knows exactly when she was born. Like, Ushio Shadow is special somehow. Her severing these connections, that doesn't mean that these shadows are like, oh, I'm not a bad shadow anymore. Like, we haven't established any kind of story beat where, oh, the shadows only do bad things because of Highness' connection to them or something, you know? Like, there's been none of that. What we should assume is that these shadows are working for Heine because they know they are shadows and she is their creator. That makes so much more sense. But I just don't like this idea that, oh, none of the shadows are actually bad. They're only bad because Heine has a connection with them. Oh, now we can just kind of turn them, and Ushi can just kind of turn all the shadows good. It's like, I don't agree. I just don't agree. Because at the end of the day, they know they are still shadows. They are shadows. They might have the appearance and memories of the original, but they are shadows, and they know that they are shadows. And so I don't believe that they never wanted to hurt anybody. It's because of Heine somehow. You know, I just think it's a very, 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 very stupid way of doing things. So why were they even, you know, fighting in the first place? She's a fucking shadow, bro. Shadow, by the way. And again, notice how easily that came, right? Oh, don't worry, I cut her connection to Heine. What does that do? It's not like they're evil and they fight against you and kill you because they are connected with Heine. Or at least that was never established. I'm pretty sure we've never been told that, oh, the shadows only do bad things because they're connected to Heine. That was never a thing. There's nothing to say that even if you sever the connection, that they won't still be loyal to Heine, their creator. You know, this idea that all these shadows are like zombies that are doing, like, eating people and killing people, but, oh, now there's a character that can, like, turn the zombies back to normal. Like, I think it's stupid. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's fucking stupid. Okay, maybe this guy is actually insane. Never mind. I thought maybe he knew of some future knowledge or something, but he's just fucking stupid. Well, so much for this timeline. Huh?
残念でした。
影にコピーされるってことはさ、心も体も全部覗かれるってことやん。ミオには私の奥までもっと知ってほしいから。
Am I crazy, or am I fucking crazy? Am I going crazy, or didn't the show at some point, like in the earlier episodes, say that a shadow can only copy one person? Maybe I'm confusing like two different rules together. I know there was the thing where you can't copy the same person twice. I could have sworn like there was some sort of limit. Because like in that same way, remember when we had the whole problem with Ushio Shadow's arm like being injured and she needs to scan the original body again to repair it? Remember that? Right? And I was like, well, why doesn't she just scan somebody else? And I just assumed that people that they couldn't scan somebody else. They can only scan one person. Because why would Ushio Shadow just not copy somebody else then? You know? Why not? I just assumed that they could only copy one person because having copied somebody else, that would mean that the personality of the second person that they copied, the personality of the second person and the memories would now be mixed with the first person that they copied and that personality. So it's kind of like you would have essentially two sets of personality and memories inside of one head. And that's why they couldn't do it. That's what I assumed. But now Mio Shadow, who has already the shadow that has already copied Mio once, can also copy someone else and take the form. You know, it's not like they're just scanning them and then applying that data to a new shadow, like creating, like they talked about, childbirth, right? It's not like she's creating a new shadow and just dropping all that data on top of it. She straight up took the form of it. So it's like, I don't see why Ushio Shadow couldn't have just copied somebody else when she was injured. And they made a whole thing about her being like, oh, I need to copy the original, oh, right? I'm injured, I'm wounded. Or you could have just copied somebody else and not been wounded. It's not like your memories of Ushio disappear, right? I feel like this show had. I feel like the show started off with rules, but as the rules get more numerous, they kind of just like they were like, whatever, fuck it, just kind of do whatever.
何も喋らんつもりかよ。もうええ。ミオ、やってくれ。
コピーできやん。この人免疫がある。
そうか。喋ってもらうしか。
待て、そんなはずがない。私をコピーできないだと。私はもう、私の影はもう作れないのか。
そういうことやけど。
先生。
千歳。では、私は何のために。根室君。
最優先の目的は果たしましたので。
射程外。
シデ様から伝言です、先生。ひし形家には大変お世話になりました。しかしそれももう終わりです。お疲れ様でした。それと網代新平君にも伝言が。どういうわけか死ななかったようですね。君のしつこさにはうんざりですよ。君には何もできやんのに。あと2日、それで全てが終わりです。
わざわざタイムリミットを言うて俺らを挑発してる。乗ったら終わりや。
でも新平、
He's right.
さっき廊下で見た影はあいつやったんや。セイさん、ここは。千歳さんには先生と同じように私の記憶を見せてます。
Why?
すまない、千歳。
そうのお母さんは今まで自分が影だと知らなかった。そういう風に作られたのだという。
君たちが
How?
止めようとしているのは分かった。
You say that, but like how and why? So when the shadow is being born, right, and created, and the copied memories or whatever, the copied data is being applied onto that shadow. Is the person who's creating, giving birth to the shadow, can they choose like, oh, don't remember your birth, don't remember that you are the shadow or something? Like, can they do that? There are these things that they don't explain, and these things are multiplying.
だが本当にハイネを殺してもいいのか。
どういう意味ですか？
ハイネを殺せば全ての影は。
Good.
つまり。
We kind of that's not Ushia, it's a shadow Ushia, bro.
ほんまはおとつい死んだ命やしな。今まで生きられたんがラッキーっちゅうか、今がボーナスタイムみたいなもんやし、その時間でみんなを救えるんやったらそうしたい。ハイネ一人倒して全部解決ってことやんな。そらええこと聞いた。それなら私は喜んでハイネを倒す。
I mean, I think pretty much everyone assumed that if they kill Haina, then the shadows would die or something.
菱形先生、ハイネは復活して何をしようとしてるんですか？
彼女はただ帰りたがってるだけだ。遠い深い海の彼方。
Yeah, she's from Canada, actually. She's trying to get back to Canada. Yeah, that's what they say about Canada, actually. Normal creatures cannot get to that holy land.
そこは時間のない永遠の国。私と千歳は影となってそこで永遠に生きるはずだった。そうや、時子も最後には影になるはずだった。
You don't become shadows.
殺しても噛めへんのか？ちゅうかってな。
あんたアホな。
You see, her, the mother, right? The mother, I could, if you told me, hey, she didn't even know she was a shadow, she can be a good shadow, kind of like Ushio, right? That would make sense because she straight up didn't know that she was a shadow, and she has no reason, and she hasn't been like hunting them or hunting anybody or anything like that, right? She's been essentially living the same life as the original. She straight up thought she was the original, right? So she has no bad intentions or any bad like thoughts or anything. But Shadow Mio straight up knew she was a shadow and has been hunting them and has been doing bad things. There's no reason to have her just switch sides. You know, it doesn't really make sense.
ありがとうございます。私を助けてくれて。でももう終わりにしやんとね。そう、時子。ここまであんたらの成長を見られて、お母さん嬉しいわ。
千歳、待ってくれ。君が死んだら、私は生きて。
Shadows, by the way. Shadow woman, by the way. Just in case any of you forget.
新平君の言う通り、まだ終わってないんやから、償えるわ。今からでも。
私が時子に隠させたうちの裏カルテだよ。診断はすべてカプグラシンドローム。この島の風土病、影の病。だがその実はハイネの食事となったものの名簿だ。新平君、君の両親の名前もある。
父と母は仕事中に船が沈んで。
You thought... Bro, did he not even consider the possibility that they died via shadows when he saw the fucking flashback? Like, come on. That's the first thing I thought. Shinpei literally saw them talking about an ancient cave under the water or something on this island in the flashback that they were going to go and explore. Like, hello? Jesus, he's just slow.
シデが殺し、私が遺体をすり替え、ハイネの元へ運んだ。すまなかった。
何？そんな一言で？
血での正体をご存知ですね。
It's your father. It's both your mother and your father.
彼女が最初に産んだ子供だ。オリジナルの名はひし形秀彦。ひし形委員の創始者、初代院長だ。
Okay, well, I'm not gonna talk for too long. This video is gonna be long because of all the complaining and analyzing and talking that I do. But as the final thing, I just want to say that, yeah, they're basically throwing all the logic out of the window. Well, not all of it, but like, essentially, they're falling into the same trap that so many other shows have, where they have such a big list of, like, powers and how they work at this point, where they're kind of losing track of things to keep track of, right? They have so many things to keep track of that they kind of forget to do certain things. I would know this because I myself have written some stories for fun. You know, I don't publish them or anything, but like in the past I have written some stories. And I have one story that, for instance, is so big that it gets to a point where even I don't remember everything about the story anymore. And sometimes when you're telling a story, you don't even notice that you are missing something. Or like, you don't see the story because you, like, everything about the story is in your head already. Right, so you already know all the information, but when someone who doesn't have all this information and they are reading your story, they will get to a point where they're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. How does this make sense? Right, like there's some sort of information missing. Now, when you, the writer, are reading the story over, you don't even notice because you already know that information, right? There can be these things that don't make sense, and one of the biggest things here that don't make sense, in my opinion, is, as I said earlier, we never established any kind of thing where that the shadows are only doing bad things because of their connection to Heine, right? Like, we never established that. We just assumed that the shadows follow the mother of the shadows, because why wouldn't they? They know they are shadows, thus they are trying to support other shadows, I guess. But mainly, the shadows aren't exactly against Heine. They're usually for Heine. They do things for her without having to be forced. But sometimes Heine might use her influence over them to, like, mentally force them to do something specific. That's what I assumed anyway, right? So it's like, all of a sudden when you introduce this weird thing about, like, oh, we can just sever the connection to Heine and they're just friendly now. It's like, huh? So you're saying that all the shadows, all of them, are actually just friendly? And they're only doing bad things and killing humans and eating humans and replacing humans because Heine wants them to do that? Like, and forces them? Through mind control? You see what I mean? Like, it just doesn't, like, it's kind of stupid, I feel like, you know? I don't know, I just don't like it. I don't like it. But yeah, that was episode 16 of Summertime Render. We shall be back next time with episode 17. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. I shall see you next time.